And I said, speaking. She said, Phil Nelson, this is so and so. Uh, I'm just gonna get to the point. Are you Negroid? And I said, yes, ma'am. I'm black. We thought so. Did you know they have a school for you people? And I said, ma'am. She said, Tuskegee. Did you know about Tuskegee? I said, yes, ma'am, I know about Tuskegee. She said, well, we can't take you here, but we think you should go to Tuskegee. And I'm just calling to make sure, you don't give up, but we're not going to accept your application.
Okay, you people. This was in the 60s, 70s, I take it.
70s. Yeah, I applied to vet school in 75.
Unbelievable.
Or 74.
So you had a cost of application issue, and you still had a huge bigotry, racism issue.
Welcome to Peter and Phil's Courageous Conversations, a podcast addressing race relations and social issues in hopes that you'll be inspired to do the same. Now, let's begin our conversation with your hosts, Dr. Peter Weinstein and Dr. Phillip Nelson.
Hi, I'm Dr. Peter Weinstein. Welcome to Peter and Phil's Courageous Conversations podcast. These are conversations that were conducted between myself and Dr. Phillip Nelson over the summer of 2020. This conversation is entitled Whites Only. Enjoy.
So anyway, I was telling you, when I sent my applications in, Tuskegee, they were the last ones to get back to me, but they sent me a letter and said, because I applied after my second year. That's why I only went to those three schools, because they would accept me after 2 years of pre-med. Mm-hmm. And Tuskegee wrote me a letter and said, we would like you to come in for the summer program, and if you do well in the summer program, then we'll admit you to the course, right? And they were really excited about me. I didn't know this because my grades are so good and everything else. And I remember my first day in school, the former dean taught a professionalism course. And he walked in, he said, I just want you to understand, he said, we had 1,897 applicants, and we picked 45 people out of that. You are one of 45 people that was selected out of 1,897 applicants. And he said, that's how special you are. And then he said, and then among you, there's a person in here that was in the 97th percentile on the PSAT. And I'm like, I think that's me. And then he said, there's another person among you that has a GPA of something else. I was like, that's my GPA. And he named like 3 or 4 things that I own. And so I'm sitting there thinking, boy, there must be some smart people in here, because I'm not thinking I'm the only one. It turns out he was talking about me. He told me later, but he used my statistics to let everybody know how selective the group was. But anyway, Texas didn't write me back. I got a phone call and it was a staff member. And she said, may I speak to Phil Nelson? And I said, speaking. She said, Phil Nelson, this is so-and-so. I'm just going to get to the point. Are you Negroid? And I said, yes, ma'am, I'm black. We thought so. Did you know they have a school for you people? And I said, ma'am. She said, Tuskegee. Did you know about Tuskegee? I said, yes, ma'am, I know about Tuskegee. She said, well, we can't take you here, but we think you should go to Tuskegee. And I'm just calling to make sure, you don't give up, but we're not going to accept your application.
Okay, you people. This was in the 60s, 70s, I take it.
70s. Yeah, I applied to vet school in 75.
Unbelievable.
Or 74.
So you had a cost of application issue, and you still had a huge bigotry, racism issue.
But those who had interviews, I mean, they actively disinterested and denied access to African Americans and women. It was active.
Really?
Really. When women came up for interviews, they would tell them, "So, sweetheart, what are you going to do when you become a veterinarian? Do you think you can throw a cow? Have you ever thrown a cow before?" I mean, they use large animal medicine to deny them.
So these were unwritten, or these were actually written policies?
No, they were unwritten policies.
Got it. It's like the owner of the Redskins refusing to sign black football players, but didn't have a written policy. He just wouldn't sign black football players.
Right.
Got it.
Like the coach at Mississippi State the coach of the baseball team, Mississippi State, wouldn't sign black players. And when Mississippi State played teams that had black players, there was if a black player happened to be a right fielder, the stands was known to have racists in the stands, and they would heckle the black player of the opposing team.
I mean, it's like watching the Jackie Robinson story. It's just hard to fathom, both on the field as well as in the stands, and traveling to St. Louis or wherever the Dodgers were traveling at that point in time. So
that's what I mean by you can't legislate hearts.
Right.
Okay. When I was at Mississippi State, one of my friends, one of my faculty colleagues, was a member of the country club, and they were having problems getting membership. And he came to a faculty meeting one day, and he was pitching the country club. And he was like, we got a pool, we got tennis courts and everything. And some of the faculty were just uncomfortable, and they were crossing their legs and turning red. And I know what was going on, and I heard them. All I knew was I was 2 years out of school, and the membership was $300 a month or a year. I forgot. Anyway, I didn't have the money. I was a young man just starting a family. I wasn't going to spend that money on a country club. And I wasn't going to be pretentious about it, to try to fit in. So as we walked out the meeting, my department head walked up to me and said, "Phil, I'm so sorry about that. I'm going to take care of that." And I'm like, "About what?" He said, you heard Dave try to invite us to join the country club?" And I said, "Yeah." I said, "I can't afford it." He said, "Phil, you can't get in." I said, "What?" He said, "They don't allow blacks or Jews to join the country club." I'm like, "Really?" So I'm supposed to be mad? I should have been mad? He said, "Yeah." So anyway, they went to Dave and said, "Dave, that was horrible. You shouldn't have even brought that up. Phil couldn't have done it. And you made the open pitch." And Dave was like, "What? He can't join?" And so Dave went back to the country club and asked, "I have a black faculty member. If I pay his membership, can I get him in?" And they said, "Oh, no, that's in the charter." And so he was like, "Oh, well, if that's the case, then I'm no longer a member. If you don't change this, I'm leaving." And they were already strapped for membership, so they changed it. And he came back and told me, "Phil, they changed." I said, "That's great, Dave." I said, "Because I'm just not a country club kind of person." I said, "When you find a black person who wants to join, I'm glad that at least they have the choice. But my choice is not to join, and I don't feel pressured to join just because you opened up the door."
I was sitting there thinking, God, Phil, I know your sense of humor. You probably would have said something like, "Darson, I would love to be a part of your country club. Where do we sign up?"
Yeah. Yeah, if I had known.
Yeah.
If I had known, but I didn't know. There were a lot of places I couldn't join that I didn't know I couldn't join because I wasn't in a position to be able to.
You weren't aware of what you weren't aware of,
Right,
which is where we're sitting right now.
right.
I'm sitting right now.
You know,
I'm
so
becoming, every time we speak, I become more aware. And I think that's actually part of the outcomes.
that is part of the outcome, and we should not underrate or underestimate the importance of that outcome.
Right.
I fought for inclusivity in the first part of my career. I also fought against being the diversity person in the profession.
When did they start having diversity officers at universities first and vet schools second?
Oh, probably in the 70s.
Okay. In response to?
In response to the Civil Rights Bill.
Okay. Got it.
Yeah.
Why would I know about a diversity officer, right?
Wow, it's amazing that you didn't even know that. Oh my. Well, first of all, you don't know a lot about education in general. I mean, higher ed and how things are run. So it's a wonder I haven't been selected as a diversity officer even before now. Matter of fact, when I got into the profession, I was the college's diversity officer. Not officially. If there was ever an issue about diversity, guess who the expert was?
The one diverse person.
And I'm not a diverse person, I'm a Black person.
Right.
You're not a diverse person, you're a white person.
Right.
I'm just the minority. So I'm the one who's supposed to understand where you went wrong.
All right, I'll lay back. You can tell me where I went wrong.
No. That's why I'm so glib at telling you, why are you asking me? But at the time, so many Black academicians failed in academia, not because they weren't smart enough, but because they had the pressure of representing their race and not their discipline.
The expectations are unfair.
And when there was an issue about diversity, they had to go to banquets just so people would know that there was a Black person on faculty if they were going to attract any other Black people or if they were going to appear to be diverse. During the early days, they promoted us. This is how affirmative action got its bad reputation. We'd get promoted beyond our capabilities or too soon, or we'd have the burden of talking about our experiences so that others could learn about us, about what we went through. I mean, it wasn't a discussion like you and I are having.
Right.
It was a speech. We'd get appointed to committees, not necessarily on diversity. You just get appointed to committees that had to deal with issues of the university, and they needed a Black person to make sure they had diverse representation. And if they only had 10 Black people on the entire campus, then you had a lot of committee work you had to work on. Tokenism. Yeah. And you felt the pressure, because if you said no, then there was no Black representation. And if a policy was adopted and you weren't there to say that's stupid, then you felt like you had failed. Even now, as a Black dean, I am criticized for not having enough Black employees, enough Black staff. I'm also criticized for having too many.
How do you win?
You win by hiring the best person that you can get to do the job and building a quality program. That's how you win. You stop playing these stupid, meaningless games.
It's not the numbers. Okay, the numbers are a finite game, but we live in an infinite game. We use metrics to measure the outcomes, but the outcomes are part of a bigger picture. It's a marathon that you have a time for each mile marker along the way, but it doesn't matter. Maybe you're off target on each of those mile markers. It's a final outcome.
It's not the numbers, it's the culture.
Correct. And the culture is the why, and the why is the infinite game.
Yes. Yes.
I made a note while we were talking that, this discussion between you and I, although focused and directed towards the veterinary profession, I think part of the direction to the people who listen is more global, to their staff, to family members, to friends, the really to have a trickle-down effect beyond just veterinary medicine, to get others to have these uncomfortable conversations with people who they know they have to have an uncomfortable conversation with. So I think many cases we should challenge people to have these courageous conversations.
Thank you for joining us for another courageous conversation. Be sure to follow us and check back next week for more.